And what's up, everybody? This is Manuel here for another episode of Nights at the Round Table One-on-One, and I am joined by the wonderful and beautiful Criscilla Anderson. She is married to, if you watched the last episode with Coffey Anderson, this is his beautiful bride, which is why we're in the same spot.
Yay.
And Criscilla, we've known for a while, a beautiful person inside and out, amazing mom, amazing dancer, just amazing all around. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like more so that she would connect with a lot of you guys that watch and listen. And I feel like her story is something that's so important that needs to be shared more because she's been sharing it. She's had a lot of opportunities to share her story. So I just want to dive in and just let her do her thing. So dancer, LA.
Yes.
Why?
You know, I grew up in Vegas, and it was entertainment capital of the world.
Sure.
And I wanted to find something I was good at, and I wanted to entertain.
Right.
I went to performing arts high school. I thought it was acting. I hated acting after high school, and I fell in love with dance totally by accident. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. This is what I want to do. How can I make this a thing? Like, how can I make this a career?
Right.
And I found out, like, you could dance backup for artists and travel and tour and make money. And I was like, what?
Yes.
Sign me up.
Yes.
So
how old are you at this point?
I was honestly middle of high school.
Okay.
And probably more coming out of high school. And I ran into Tabitha and Napoleon Dumo.
Yep.
Nappy Tabs. They're all over the place. And they were teaching classes at a gym in Vegas, like every week. And I saw their class through a window, and I was like, I have to take their class.
Wow.
Come to find out, they were dancing back up for Destiny's Child at the time, and they just became my mentors. I trained with them every week. I joined the dance team that they were the artistic directors for, which is called Culture Shock. And I trained under them for a couple years, and then they moved away.
Wow.
They moved to LA.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going too.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to come and people are going to fall in love with my gift and I'm going to dance and they're going to be like, wow, there's this white girl dancing hip hop. Let's let her be there, you know. And I was ready to come and pursue my dream.
Yeah.
So when Tabitha and Napoleon moved to LA, I was like, there's nothing left here for me.
Right.
I'm going to LA too.
Right.
And that's when I saved up $1,100 and moved.
$1,100 and then that's it.
I left.
So there's no turning back.
No.
And when you got out here, what was it like? Like when you think about it, when you try to, all of us do this where we have this idea of what our life is gonna be. You know, we're younger, a little naive.
Yes.
And we think, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set out and go for it. This is how it's gonna work.
Yeah. So before I moved out, I actually came out here and auditioned for an agency.
Okay.
And it was Tabitha and Napoleon's agency that they were with. And they accepted me.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, I got my agent.
Yep.
I know I'm talented to some degree because I wouldn't have gotten signed by the agency. But I felt like I needed to be out here. So my thinking is save up a little money, get out there, start working, go get a real apartment.
Yeah.
And do my thing.
Yeah.
I come out here. I stay in my friend's dining room. I put up a wooden rod from Home Depot. And threw a sheet up on it to give me my little privacy.
Wow.
Threw up another rod on this wall so that I could hang my clothes on it.
Wow.
An air mattress. And I had like a little nightstand with two little drawers, and that was my space.
Wow.
And
for how long? How long was that?
A few months.
Damn.
And I started doing, he's like, come on out here. I can start you working right away. You can start doing extra work. I was like, what's extra work? And he's like, well, you just do like background work on movies and you get like $50 for 8 hours. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Back then $50 was, it's nothing now.
It's something.
And so that next Monday, I started doing extra work and I literally made a living off doing extra work. But that's how I was meeting my friends.
Yeah.
That's how I met Angela.
Is it?
Yes.
Angela, my beautiful wife.
Yes. And I was meeting other people who were like pursuing a dream too, and this is how they were kind of getting started. And I kind of built my little village at that time, doing extra work.
That's crazy. So in this journey, at what point did you decide that love would play a part into it? How'd you stumble upon the Coffey Anderson?
You know, I've gone through years of dancing and LA and being out there, and you know, I've had a couple boyfriends out here, but I I did feel like I always said to myself, I want my love story to be like a chick flick.
Sure. I'm all about the chick flicks.
Okay. I want my story to be like a chick flick. And I remember one day I was in Europe on a job, and another dancer said to me, all men cheat, you need to get used to it.
Oh, wow.
And just accept it. And I was like, no. I was like, I can't accept that. And I've been through the bad relationships out here.
Yeah.
I mean, LA it's hard.
For sure.
It's a very selfish city. Mm-hmm. Everyone is out here for their career and for themselves. So finding love, it's more of a challenge out here because people's goals aren't the same.
Yeah.
And I met Coffey at church, of all places.
Was it
in his presence?
Okay.
In Canoga Park. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was sitting in the crowd, and my friend was next to me, and I was borrowing her highlighter to highlight something, and she was like, "Hey, I need my highlighter back," and she took it from me and handed it back to Coffey.
Oh.
And I was like, I happened to glance at who she had given it to, and I was like, "Who's that?" And she's like, "That's Coffey." Oh my gosh, I have to introduce you to. I was like, "Yes, you do." So she introduces us after church, and Coffey had his little girl, and I was like, "Hi, nice to meet you." And of course, he's like, "Let me go get you my CD." And I was like, "Okay."
Let me go get
and I was like, "That's game, right?" And so he hands me his CD, and I go to the car, and I put it in, and the first song comes on, and I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
So I called my friend, and I'm like, "You need to give him my number." And she's like, "I'm going to lunch with him right now. I will, blah, blah, blah." And that's how we met.
Wow.
And I actually, our first date, I was kind of going through a breakup in a bad relationship. And we were going to go on a date and go to the movies that night. And he had flaked on me. And if my ex-boyfriend had never flaked on me, Coffey had called and was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Actually, I'm not doing anything." We would have never had our first date.
Dang.
So that's how we met.
Thank you, ex-boyfriend.
Yes, thank you, ex-boyfriend.
So then it progressed. How long did it take before you guys got serious, got married?
So we dated through the summer, and I broke it off.
Oh, wow. Why?
I think I was still coming out of this ex-boyfriend relationship, and I wasn't completely over it yet, to be honest with you. And I just wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. It was a lot. Coffey was falling really hard, and I was like kind of scared.
Yeah.
And I've been in LA. At this point, I've been in LA 10 years.
So you felt like it was kind of like the same old.
Yes, right. I wasn't ready for a man that was really wanting to commit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to these guys that's not their thing. So it was very different for me. It's almost like a woman will ask for something and say she wants this and she wants that. And then the minute it comes, they're like, eh.
Oh my gosh, this happened in our podcast. I had Elise join all the apps, and she would be saying one thing. Her and my wife would be like, "Yeah, we want a guy like this. Why are guys so flaky? Why are whatever?" And then the one dude who was like, "Hey, I think you're awesome. Let's go out." She was like, "Whoa, buddy, that's way too forward." And I was like, "Wait, you just said you wanted a guy that didn't play around."
That totally happened with me.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a girl thing.
My girlfriend who introduced us was like, "He's not doing well. He's really missing you." And I'm like, "Okay, he's obsessed. He's stalking me." But now I look back, and he really was just loving me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy because us women do tend to do that and not realize it. We want that hard to get, but then we complain that we want a man who's real and true and serious. And the minute we get that, it's not hard to get, so it's not fun anymore.
Interesting.
But once I got past that, now I love that he'll show up where I'm at to check on me, because it's not that he's stalking me or he's obsessed. He's genuinely checking on me and making sure I'm good.
Yeah.
And I love that in my husband.
Yeah.
But yeah, we broke up. We got back together. I fasted for 2 weeks, actually, because this ex, I just needed to get away from him. And Coffey came back into my life during that fast. And yeah, I knew.
And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got beautiful babies.
Yes, 3 beautiful babies. We've been married 10 years.
Wow.
And
That's amazing, though.
yes.
Well, I mean, if you had to, I don't want to say compare, but would you say then having the kids more, I guess, pushed you or inspired you or gave you more of a...
Yeah, you know, in the beginning, I will say I was all about being mom.
Yeah.
I put my career on the back burner a little bit because I was a mom and I'm adjusting to motherhood and I have this baby and I'm so in love and this and that. And later on, I realized I'm missing something. Something's missing.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had stopped being Criscilla. I was just mom, 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 mom.
Yeah.
That I wasn't Criscilla the dancer anymore.
Man, how important do you think that is? Because I feel like there's a lot of moms listening right now that maybe feel like lost, like an identity loss. Like they had a dream and then the kids kind of just...
Yes, and it's not to take away
Right.
that we love our children,
Sure.
but we all have our own thing that we do that defines us. You know, like my husband is a singer, that's what he does. I'm a dancer, that's what I do. No matter what it is you do, whether you're a comedian or you work in a dental office or whatever it is, it's something that you love and you take that away, you're not going to be 100% happy, no matter how happy you are over here. And that's where balance comes into play.
Okay.
And you really have to fight for balance. And I will say, when you have a baby, adjusting from 0 children to 1 is your biggest challenge in finding that balance. 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 children
Right.
are not nearly as hard as 0 to 1.
Right.
It's always the hardest. But having 3 kids, I have slowly made sure after each child, I am more and more balanced with Criscilla the dancer, and this is what I love and who I am, and this is my happy place. And I actually have more balance having 3 kids and being Criscilla the dancer than I was when I had 1 child and I was just mom.
Wow. Do you find that other moms take that approach, or do you feel like moms feel almost like guilty for wanting a little bit of themselves back?
It is definitely a guilt thing, but and I don't know if it's something you could say to another mom and you can tell them until they're blue in the face, make sure you don't lose track of who you are.
Right.
Or if it's something you just have to go through and experience and figure out on your own as like kind of like a learning. You learn to adjust as you have children or as you are a mother longer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I don't think I had anyone saying, make sure you don't lose sight of who Criscilla is.
Right.
And if I could tell anyone that, that's what I would say. I think being a mother is one of the greatest things that's happened to me. The hardest and most rewarding thing that has ever happened to me. If I could go back, I would say I would have tried to find more balance after having my first child in my career so that I didn't lose it. Because now, even though I'm dancing all the time, there was a sense of having to start over, and all that work that I did, all the years prior to having kids, kind of just was for nothing.
Wow. Man, that's deep, at least for moms to hear, like, because I know with my mom, man, when I talk to her, I don't even know if I know that she had a dream or that there was something she wanted to do in life. Literally, like, I can't even tell you. All I know is I'm grateful that she raised us. She was one of those moms that was there every day. There was no babysitter. It was just her.
Yeah.
But I sometimes wonder, like, man, and you know what? I need to ask her because I legit don't know. Like, what was there ever a dream that you kind of forfeited? Because for us, she was just like, that's it. Once I had kids, like, they became the dream. But it also makes me think, I wonder if there's a little bit of, like, not resentment, but a little bit of just like, I kind of passed up on life because it was just about these kids,
right?
You know?
And, you know, honestly, I feel like now that I have this balance figured out between being a wife, being a mother, and having a career, I feel like now that I am still able to do what I do with my dancing and being in the entertainment industry and getting my high when I go to a class or when I'm able to do a dance job and bring in some money to my family, I'm a better mother and I'm a better wife.
Yeah.
I have that time for me and that fills me up, and we all need that. And if there's any advice I could even give to husbands, it's to push their wife to go do something that fills them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you know, my husband says, you know, I make sure that you go do what you love and you come back refreshed and ready to parent, and you're not drained all the time because you've done something for yourself. Because my career is something I love, especially if it's something you love, you know, like if you're a nurse and that's what you feel you were called to do and you want to go help people, you need to go do that.
Yeah.
And it shows your children that you can do everything.
Yeah, man. You get like a hero status. Like you
Yes.
got mom status, but then
Yes.
there's like, man, my mom's like doing something, like legitimately going for something. So in this process of mom, of dancing, of wife, what would you say has been the biggest hurdle? What was the hardest thing that you had to get?
I think 100% the biggest hurdle I've ever been through having children was when doctors told me I had cancer last year. I immediately went to the thought of my children not having a mom.
Wow.
And that was something I would have never imagined to my family.
Yeah.
I'm healthy. There's not cancer in my family history. I'm an athlete. I eat right. I just ran a marathon.
Yeah.
I've birthed 3 kids naturally and breastfed all of them for 18 months. Like, I am healthy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have a primary care doctor because I'm so healthy.
Right.
I never need to go.
Right.
So that kind of came out of nowhere. And my first thought was, my children need their mom. And then my second thought was, my husband needs his wife. He lost his mom to cancer at 11, and I can't imagine him losing his wife as well.
Wow.
And trying to process that was honestly the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Was there any moment at all, like, I mean, because look, this is, one morning you're like playing with the kids, cooking breakfast with the husband. The next morning you're freaking contemplating actual life. Was there any moment in all of that that you looked at God and were just like, really, bro? Like, really? Like, this is what?
You know, it's weird. It's, yes. And I don't say why me. It wasn't a why me. It was a, is this really what is happening? It was almost like, is this for real?
Yeah.
Or is this a nightmare? Like, really trying to say, am I really waking up from a bad dream? What is this? Is this real? And you wake up the next morning and you know it's real. It's like when you go through a death. Like, you wake up, you didn't know if it was real, and you're like, oh, it was real. Like, or bad news or something, you know? And it took weeks to process. And I would watch my children play out here swimming, and I would just sit there and watch and think, how long do I have to watch them play?
Wow.
And I knew I had to fight and do everything so that they wouldn't lose their mom. So when that happened, a whole nother perspective of life and goals and who is Criscilla came into play.
What did you find out? Because who we were just talking about for the first half is this dancer, this person who's into the industry, who wants to achieve these things, and now it's, man.
I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to dance. I'm going to be a mom. I'm just adding a fight in the mix.
Wow.
I'm going to go get chemotherapy every 21 days. I'm going to be sick for 4 days, but I'm going to get up. I'm going to go pick up my kids from school. I'm going to go back to dance class. I'm going to stay who I am.
Wow. All this, because I remember when I came over and you showed me your colostomy bag. Is that what it is? You were dancing with that.
Yes.
Just like, hey, this is my life.
If I let that stop me, that would have emotionally and mentally killed me. Does that make sense?
100%.
And I wasn't going to let that stop me.
Man, look, if you're listening to this, like, I think that's such an amazing point to capture, is that the things that we let, and this, I don't want to like trivialize anybody's struggle or what they're going through, because you may not be going through cancer, but losing a job may feel as bad.
Right.
Or, you know, I don't want to trivialize that.
Everyone has a story.
Yes.
And everyone's struggle is their own.
Correct. But I'm more interested in the fact that you had this something that I think would have knocked a lot of people out, faith-wise,
right,
emotionally, mentally, and it would have been a lot easier to say no, and it would have been a lot easier to justify saying no, because cancer ain't nothing to play with.
Right.
But the fact that you said, man, if I let this stop me, like, it's literally staring death in the face and being like, no. And the amount of people that maybe let the littler things stop them, either an offense from a coworker, an offense from a church member, or, their first no. And it stops them from ever going for it, ever truly living life. But for you to sit there and look at actual death and say, nah, I don't accept it.
I mean, what gives me my high, right? You have to think about what makes me feel good as a normal person. Put the cancer aside. And it's my babies, it's dance, it's the love I have for my husband, it's the balance of all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start to take one thing away and let cancer replace it, you've lost that balance and you've lost that high, right? Remember I said in the beginning something was missing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take away any of those things. I'm just going to add, okay, the cancer's joining us, and we're going to fight it.
Yeah.
And we're going to fight it, but we're going to continue with all these other things. And honestly, people always said this when I first got sick. Have faith, have faith. Oh, yeah, easier said than done, okay?
Right.
But I got to a point where I was like, this is completely out of my hands. And I can either put my full faith in God and let him do his thing. And, I mean, I was forced to trust him. Mm. And when I finally let go, I'll never forget, I wanted to go to church. I hadn't been able to go because I was sick. Obviously, I was in the hospital, and then I was recovering from surgery, so I hadn't been able to go. And I told my stepmom who was here, I said, I just want to go with Coffey. I don't want to bring the kids, but I just want to go and cry it out. I haven't been able to cry it out yet. And I wanted to go to my church to cry it out. Mm. It chokes me up. I remember going, and my pastor had all the congregation put their hands out and pray over me. And the worship music's going, and it's all emotional, and I finally was like, I have to let go and give this to you. And I did, and in that moment, I felt this strength. Like, I'm going to fight. I'm a positive person. My kids need me. I have no choice. I'm going to dance through this, and I'm going to inspire someone else. Mm. And I started doing it, and it was working. And I promise you, I was one round into chemo, and I was like, I beat this.
Wow.
I had the bag. The bag was a pain in the butt, but I was adjusting. Mm-hmm. But when I wasn't sick from the chemo, I felt fine. I physically felt fine. I didn't feel sick. And I was like, someone said to me, your attitude is everything. Like, that'll play such a huge part in your healing. Mm. And I physically felt fine, so why not go on with life? And then, okay, I have the chemo, back to the hospital, and I'd be like, come on, let's get this done. Let's get it over with. I need these 3 days to fly by so I can continue on with my life.
Yeah.
And that was what I did.
Wow.
And I was convinced that I was cured way before I had my PET scan.
That's crazy. The power of thinking, of positivity, of attitude.
Yes.
That made the difference.
Yes. I think the biggest hurdle with the cancer was at the end when I was told that I was cancer-free. You go back in the beginning, you were like, how did this happen to me? And is this real? And then you get told you're cancer-free. And that's when I asked God, why me?
Interesting. Why?
Why did I get chosen to live and not someone else?
Wow.
It's a little bit of survivor's guilt, or is this too good to be true, or you know what I mean?
Totally.
But he's not done with me yet.
So, full circle, what is now, what I asked you at the beginning was what you thought success would be. Like, what would be the epitome of success? Just heading out bright-eyed and trying to come and tackle the monster that is LA. Now you're looking at it on the other side of this cancer thing. Like, what does success mean now? Like, what is the goal?
Success is, it's not the next job I book. It's not how good I do in a routine. It's, I have nothing to lose at this point. So why am I carrying fear of not being good enough? Or fear of, am I going to make a fool out of myself? Or am I not the best? So all these fears that I battled, that fear went away. And that, to me, is success.
Yeah.
because I think there's something about beating these fears that you might have internally and realize what the bigger picture is.
Yeah.
Like I just beat cancer.
Right, right.
I feel like a freaking superhero.
Yeah, and well, you should.
That to me is success. It's waking up and I really hear the birds chirping in the morning. I know that sounds silly.
No.
But like I really hear the wind, or I smile at the meltdowns that my children have. Like I'm alive. You know, there is always someone out there in this world that's happier with way less than what you have.
Yeah.
And I think that statement is so powerful when I heard it, because it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a roof over my head. I have 3 kids that are healthy, an amazing marriage. I live in the best weather ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all alive. We're all healthy. And I'm over here getting disappointed because I can't find the house that I want to buy.
Right.
But I have to remember, I actually get to shop and look for a house.
Yo, I remember I wrote this song called Options, and I remember the day God gave it to me because I was being complaining. I was doing the whole like thing of why me. And then he brought me back to a time where I didn't have an option. When I got my first car, it was a hand-me-down. Why? Because there was literally no other option. I had no money. My parents didn't have no money. So this is what you got. I remember when I was so broke, when someone said, do you want to go eat somewhere? Where do you want to eat? I couldn't answer them. Why? I had no money. I didn't have options. When I was in Bible college, same thing. You know, the most fancy place I ate out in Bible college was Subway, and that was because my girlfriend paid for me. Just a broke joke with no kind of option. I didn't even have the ability to choose. Now on the other side of things that we're here, and it's like me and you can literally right now after this be like, man, I'm hungry.
Where do you want to go eat? Let's go.
Something so trivial
Yeah.
that everybody says in their life, like a lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people can just say, hey, where do you want to go eat? Even if it's the cheapest place, McDonald's or Burger King, the fact that you have a choice means that you're more blessed than half of this world. Like literally half of this world does not have the ability to choose anything. Just that alone should create a grateful spirit. Just that alone. I like prep myself. I tell myself that all the time because I'm like, man, there may be a day coming where I'm going to have to deal with some ish. And if I don't have this programmed in my heart, like an actual habit of being gracious and grateful, I'm afraid that when it does come time to draw from that bank, that I'm going to be depleted, you know? So practicing gratitude is something that I feel like is so important. But I'm grateful that you took time out of your day.
I'm grateful that you came and asked me to do this. How awesome is that?
I'm hoping that somebody out there, I literally do this for the one person that needed to hear what Criscilla had to say. And I hope you are watching. I hope that you're listening. And I hope that you got something from this. We love you guys so much.
Stay encouraged. I know that we all have our own battles that we fight, but at the end of the day, just stay encouraged because there's only one you and there's room for everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
We'll see you guys next time. Yeah.